Hey everyone, welcome to the episode 2 of the Kelly Berger Comedy Podcast. I am here with my brother Darren doing tech support. And today we have a very special guest. We have local Minneapolis comic turned actress turned nomadic travel, Lisa Evanson.
Hi
Say hi, Lisa.
guys. Hey.
And we've known each other very much through the Minneapolis comedy scene, and it's been 2 years since we've seen each other.
It's been a long time. Yeah, we first met 5 years ago.
Yep. I'm trying to think of like which mic was it at? Was
It was probably Acme or Sisyphus, one of the two. Did you frequent both of those?
yeah, I started those are like the two main comedy hangs in Minneapolis.
Yep. Yep. Those are my second home for a really long time.
hmm
How's Austin treating you?
It's been doing pretty good. And like you visited Austin for a little bit in 2021 too.
Good memory. I did. Yeah. I actually met some comedians there. Well, one in particular, Tony Casillas. I met him through Clubhouse when that was popping off, like right in the heart of the pandy. And yeah, we just stayed friends and we met for the first time in Austin and he let me do a showcase with him. I can't remember the name of the venue, maybe the green
Freak in the
room.
Cave.
Well, I did get to do an open mic at Creek in the Crave, which was
Yep.
unreal. And
They have
then
one
later,
almost every night now.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then I got
Hit the outdoor mic.
no, we did indoor, and I remember thinking because it was Creek in the Crave, it was gonna be like an Acme open mic, with hundreds of people, and no, I'm pretty sure there was 1 or 2 tops non-comic audience members, so that really took me by surprise and only reiterated how awesome the Acme open mic is, where you can get 200-300 people at an
Yep.
open mic.
Yeah, people in Minneapolis don't realize like how spoiled they are with the Acme open mic.
No. Yeah. Yeah, it's competitive for a reason because it's just unreal stage time.
Yeah, Acme is like one of the top 5 clubs in the country.
Yes. Have you seen I Need You to Kill?
I Need You to Kill.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the documentary on Acme
Yes.
made by
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's so great. I recommend that to anyone who will listen because I just love how it's the first 30 minutes is all about the history of Acme.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, did that one have Chad Daniels and Bert Kreischer in it?
Chad Daniels, Pete Lee, and oh god, I'm completely blanking on the third comic.
Let's see. What does he look like? Maybe we can describe him.
Well, that's the thing, his face won't even come to mind.
Is he
Um,
even worth remembering?
okay, I just Googled it. I Need You to Kill, and it features yes, Tom Segura is the third one. How do I forget Tom Segura?
The most famous one. You forget that one?
This is a very real thing, Kelly. When I get excited about something, or it could be as simple as I see an old friend in a crowd, it like clears my brain memory out. And the amount of times I've forgotten someone's name who I shouldn't, it'd be like forgetting yours. It'd be like, that's weird. That's happened so many times. And it's when I get really excited, I'm like, I don't know, am I a dog? Where like anyways, I don't know if it's like an ADHD
Yeah, you
thing,
just
but
process more through emotion than through logic.
at times, yes.
'Cause I remember how you made me feel awesome. I just don't remember what you were named.
I've tried to be more bold and tactful about it because I feel like you have about 0.5 seconds when you first run into someone and you can't remember their name
hmm
to either admit it. Otherwise, you have to commit to the, oh, girl, how are you? Oh my God, that's so great. It's so great to see you. Like, you have to just commit to the bit for however long you're going to talk to them, which Minnesotan hello,
hmm
goodbye could be 20 minutes. And you're like, I don't know their name. And so there was one person where I just tried to be bold in that first 0.5 seconds. I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't remember your name. Actually, oh my God, it was a comic. It was my first time being seen in the Minneapolis scene since coming back. So I'm not going to say who it was, but
You just
and
bring like
only if
another friend to introduce him. Like, hey, this is.
I did actually, but I hate when you do that and then the friend doesn't get the hint.
Yep. And
Like
also, did you forget that other friend's name you were trying to introduce?
occasionally I do, and it's an excitement thing where it's like, this is my friend. but I did remember his name, and then he didn't get the hint. He just was like, "Hey man, nice to meet you," and I was like, "No, you idiot! You're supposed to ask him his name." Um, and then that comic had a face that only that comic could make to know I'm a dumbass for forgetting his name.
Was it one of the bigger comics in the Minneapolis scene?
He won HOC one year.
Let's see. Let's see if I can name those. Like first one on the top of my head, James Wells.
Bingo!
Ding,
and
ding, ding.
and I was so excited when I saw him. I was like, Jesus! And like, because his hair still looks, anyways. And
Yeah, down in Austin, I ran into a comic who was friends with James Wells, who we knew from Arizona.
wait, say it one more time. A comic that
Who knew James Wells from Arizona, and now he moved down to Austin.
no, wait, James started in Arizona.
Yeah, James Wells. He would do part-time comedy in Minneapolis and in Arizona through his
Oh, that's
roofing job.
right. That's right. That's right. Yep. And the roofing stuff was the bit that he won the contest with.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
his crazy chicken bit.
Mm-hmm. Pollo Loco or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yeah, Darren,
awesome.
you remember watching James Wells with our relatives?
Vaguely.
Yeah, we went. Remember when you went to Sisters for that contest night with Dad and Aunt Denise?
Yes, I remember.
And James was like one of the few comics Dad and Denise enjoyed.
Oh, that's who that was? That's who that is? Okay.
Yep.
Because the only guy I remember from that night is the one that made Dad and Denise extremely uncomfortable to be there.
Yeah, like one night
Actually,
you invited a family member to a contest night, which I probably won't ever do again because they were going into expecting like a pro comedy show, then expect it to be like an amateur contest.
Okay, that's something I've noticed is when friends and family come to a show for the first time, they only have Netflix specials to reference, and so that's where their expectations are at. And
Yep.
you notice it even in the way they ask you questions. People like in earnest will be like, "So like when can you get your Netflix special?" And some people say it like tongue in cheek as like a thing of support, but then some people ask it in earnest, and you're like, so listen, it actually takes really far to get to that point, or really long. um it's cute but also like frustrating, or like I've been doing more keynote speaking and you usually have an hour, and I have to manage expectations because sometimes the organizer will just assume like, oh, so you're just gonna do like an hour of stand up, right? And I was like, you do realize how long that, and God forbid you have to craft it like the upcoming one I have. It's going to be for an organization that helps women going through divorce. And so I would want to tailor those jokes. And I just had to kindly share. I was like, well, some of it's going to be heartfelt because I can't just do 60 minutes of pure jokes.
It has now made it easier to do like corporate speaking jobs where like,
Yeah.
oh, I have like a prepared script and people aren't expecting me to be like on the fly versus like a stand-up show.
Right. Right. Well, and sometimes with those things, you don't know if you're going to get 12 people or 100 people, and the number of people can really change the energy, especially for a group of people who aren't used to seeing stand up. Like I did stand up for an unemployment group one time. So funny story, Ali Sultan, it was like my first year of comedy. I think it was like my first really big show I got booked on. There must have been, I don't know, like 400 people, 300 people, I don't know, in the audience. I don't think anyone was under the age of 50. But when I tell you that was the hottest crowd, well, I don't mean like attractive wise, but like, the laughter levels were the hottest audience ever. And there was someone in the crowd. Well, and that I did my bit about getting laid off because I think it was my fourth time ever on stage. It was at Sisyphus, and the night before I'd gotten laid off from my job unexpectedly.
Was the audience
So
like, oh, I remember when that happened to me during the Great Depression.
Yep. It was very cathartic. And what, oh, right. Yeah. So that was so early on in my stand-up career that it's when I think about getting laid off, it's like, oh yeah, that was the beginning of stand-up for me. And so by that point, it was a bit more polished. She was like, hey, I run an unemployment group. Would you go do an hour of stand-up for them? Again, very common theme where I was like, okay, well, I can do like my 5-minute layoff bit, but what if I actually help them and guide them? Because upon talking to her more, she's like, it's a group of people who, classic boomer, they were dedicated to a job for 20, 30 years and they just don't know how to job search.
Yeah.
So I did that. And
And the jobs they were probably hot when they were going in were probably jobs that are outdated right now.
exactly. Like these, bless their souls. But I mean, like some of them, I was like, I don't know if you know how to save a PDF, that's a little poke at my mom because I had to teach her that quite recently.
Yeah,
But
Darren has to do that a lot with our relatives.
Yeah, I work in IT and I have to help IT folks do that sometimes. It's
wow.
interesting.
Here's the thing though, like with how technology is progressing, what's going to make us look like idiots when we're our parents' age? Like someone's gonna be like, what do you mean you don't know how to use AI to build a spaceship, you dumbass? Like, I mean, I try and have a little bit of empathy, but there are times where I'm like, okay, so you can be on Facebook for 10 hours, but you don't know how to Google how to save a PDF. Anyways, I'm more, that's more, my mom will laugh at this if she ever listens to it.
Or maybe we just might go in a different cycle where just everything crashes down and we're back to cavemen.
Yes, exactly. The end times are near. But anyways, yeah,
Or
that
it's
was
just like a circle times.
circle.
Have you
times.
heard of the book The Fourth Turning?
No.
That's a very interesting book to read or something to look up.
What's it about?
It's just talking about like basically it's talking about like through history we go through like different seasons like fall, winter, and summer and spring.
Oh,
Yep, you know what I'm talking about, Darren?
yeah. I really don't like that idea.
It
It's
sort of kept me calm during like the last couple years, thinking like, okay, we're just going through like the book talked about like there's like 4 different cycles. There's like a crisis generation, a post-crisis, an awakening, and an unraveling.
Mm.
And it occurs like every 80 years.
Can I get wait, so like are millennials the awakening and Gen Z is the unraveling?
Well, right now, the last unraveling is probably like during like the 60s and 70s during like the whole hippie revolution, and
Yeah.
like the unraveling was like the culture wars of the 80s and on. And right now, it's according to the theory, we're like in like the crisis generation right now.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. The optimist in me was showing.
Mm-hmm. So right now we're like in winter.
Yeah. Do you think you would have been a hippie had you been that age in the 60s?
Oh, probably. Like to think I would go against the current.
Yeah, I like to think you would too. I like to think you would have gotten very experimental with acid.
Well, I think if I was doing acid back then, I'd probably be doing it now. But
Wait, are you doing it now?
no, I don't do any drugs. Like I've seen like the end result of like even with beer, with especially how it destroys like good comics careers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. Mm-hmm. End podcast.
Alienated like almost everyone we work with.
Yeah, no, it's sad. You know what's interesting? I've never ever drank before doing a set. Like not even an open mic.
Yeah,
Do you
I would force myself to drink a couple times, but there was one time where I was drunk on stage, and that was something a lot of people remembered. It was. Do you remember? Do you remember Chatterbox in the St. Paul?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
I've been
run by
there.
Raina.
Oh, wait. Oh, I don't know if that was before my time. I've been to the restaurant. I just don't know if I ever went to the open mic there.
Yeah, it was in 2016. I, I was drinking with a buddy who was about to be deported.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so then I went on stage, and then I fell off the stage.
Wait, I'd heard of this, Kelly, but I I remember people talking about this. You and I have that in common, you know. We've both fallen off stages.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
you
not.
would act at House of Comedy during
Yeah.
your was that during your contest night?
Yeah. It was, I want to say that was my first year doing it, and so that was semifinals night. And because I made the horrid mistake of wearing a dress on stage. Why did I do that? Anyways, on the way down, because they had set up the ADA ramp, um, if this was the stage and this is the ramp, my sandal caught the lip, and
Ooh.
so that momentum just like catapulted me forward. Somehow my shoe didn't break and I didn't come out of the shoe. It was like a space-time continuum perplexity. Anyways, and then I get up and the place is packed. You know, it fits what, 500 people in there. And everyone's like, "Ooh." And I go,
You knew to stand up literally.
Sorry. And so I go, "I'm okay." And as I yell, "I'm okay," my phone flies out of my hand and like hits a gentleman. And then that area of the audience was like, "Ooh." And it wasn't pretty. And I still have the scars on my knees from that fall. But I'll never forget the owner of House of Comedy was like, if you promise not to sue us, I'll give you a free fireball to help with the pain. And
Oh, he said that to the customer?
well, to me.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, he said that to me as a result of hurting myself. But yeah, I had like a solid emergency crew helping with the alcohol wipes and the band-aids. And I mean, there's a decent amount of blood. So
Ooh.
fun times, super
Yeah,
cute
it's
scars.
another comedy war story.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. A lot of people bring that up though. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. Have you let's see, you've been in Minneapolis for a while, and you also did a little bit of time in LA.
Yeah, so I just got back to Minnesota 4 months ago, from a stint in Portugal, and then that was right on the heels of my time in LA, which, was for a few months, and then before that, I'd had, like, some of my nomadic bits where we were changing cities every week, which wasn't sustainable, but man, it was fun, but work officially took away my ability to remote travel. So that brought me back here. And within 24 hours of them announcing that, my dad had an episode and got diagnosed with a heart condition, and has it's pretty serious, like his condition. So I was like, all right, feels like I'm being called back to Minnesota. So I'm just trying to embrace being back here,
Yeah.
even though a big chunk of my heart is in LA.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah, how is
bonkers
the
though.
scene compared from Minneapolis and LA? Like, I remember I went there in 2019 with my other brother Brent to check that scene out.
How many brothers do you have?
Just two, Darren and Brent.
Yeah.
I have 2 brothers too. Are yours both older?
I'm in the middle. Darren's older,
Ah.
Brent's younger.
Brent's
I'm
the
the
one with the family.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good for him. I'm
Yeah,
the
Brent just
baby.
had his second child.
Good for him.
Mm.
Yeah, both my brothers constantly remind me, when I was your age, I was already married and had my first kid. So, that's a regular conversation. What was the question before that?
Just what was the comparison between LA and Minneapolis?
Mm. Well, for really quick context, when I was in LA, I was focused more on improv classes and acting. So at for the time that I was there, stand-up was tertiary, if you will. But that said, I did get on stage a few times there. Um, I would say the biggest difference was, I almost like feel bad saying this, but it was the warmth and like openness of other comics. Like, for comparison, I remember starting in Minneapolis, it was kinda like you walked in and people, like, would look at you, and obviously they know they've never seen your face before, but they don't really openly go up to you.
Right.
Whereas in LA, you go to a mic and everyone's, "Oh, what a are you a comic? Oh, hey, awesome. Where you?" I will say
Yep,
this.
smaller scenes tend to be more competitive because everyone's like there's like fewer clubs and everyone's doing
Yes.
that subconscious ranking.
Yes. And I felt that. And it didn't matter if it was at the equivalent of a terminal bar there,
Mhm.
or if it was I remember going to I would go to the improv a lot, and just from some friends I have who are, let's just say, on a much higher echelon than they still were very welcoming. Like, I would be talking to them, I would notice they have friends where I was like, "I know who that is," and they're kind of a big deal, and they didn't gatekeep. They were like, "Hey, this is my friend Lisa." Like, they were just so welcoming, whereas I can't tell you the number of times I'd be in Minneapolis, and I might be friends with the person who featured, and they're talking to the headliner, and I may be just going to say goodnight or something to my friend, and they don't even do the, "Oh, it's my friend Lisa, by the way. She's a comic too." They just do the, "Oh, okay, I'll see you." Like, and then that's frustrating because it's twofold. It's like,
Yep,
bro,
it's
why you gatekeeping? But secondly, if I was in that position, I can say in earnest that I would introduce them. And that's what's befuddling and makes it feel more intentional. Whereas in LA, there wasn't any gatekeeping.
like everyone's out here struggling.
It just I would summarize it as, that first day on campus, first day of college, right? And it's that new energy, and you make friends just because you're freshmen, or just because you're in the same class or in the same group, or the
Yep.
same way girls make friends in the bathroom. Like, we're both in the bathroom, we're bridesmaids now. That's how it felt in LA. It was like everyone acknowledges that you've moved there and you've sacrificed something to move there, and that
Mhm.
you're pretty serious if you've moved there.
Yep, it's the sort of same way down here in Austin. And Austin's like a very well right now after Rogan came in, it's like a new scene just formed.
Mhm. Mm. No, but I noticed it in Austin too. Just going to Creek and the Crave, to
Creek in
Creek
the
and the
cave.
Cave. um, Comics were so curious and welcoming and excited for you, just that I was visiting. But by the end of my visit, the number of comics who were like, "You got to move here. Like, really, I think you're awesome. I think you're talented." Like, it goes beyond like a just a formality. It's genuine. And I left Austin feeling like, "Oh shit, should I move to Austin?" I mean, it was a wonderful community of comics there.
Yeah, things started to really pick up down here after the mothership landed.
Yes, yeah. Wait, because when did that happen again?
The mothership just it opened up in March of this year.
Yeah. Oh man. So have you gotten to perform there?
I got on the open mic one time.
How was it?
It was very good. They have two stages there, like the little boy and the fat man.
Okay,
That's the name
okay.
of their two
Of
stages.
course he
Love
calls
that.
him that.
Yeah,
Of course he
Darren
does.
knows what those two stages were named after.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate, Darren?
Uh, th- we'll leave it as it is.
Come on, Darren, you can tell her.
Yeah, they're the two nuclear bombs that were dropped on Japan.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the way a set can feel.
Oh, Jesus.
It suddenly makes so much sense now.
Yep. So I did the open mic. I got on one time in the little boy room, which is sort of like they have two rooms. Like they have the little boy, which is like a small, compacted for more intimate shows, and Batman is like the big stage area.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And last Friday, I got to one of our own was on the Fat Man stage.
Wait, was it wait, I just saw your Facebook post. Was it
Yep.
Mike Early?
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love
Mike
Mike.
was there. He was featuring for Adrian Appalucci.
Oh, no shit. That's awesome. Oh,
Yep.
she's so funny. How did Mike do?
And Mike did very, very well.
Yes. I miss him so much. He is the one comedian who could actually elevate my writing when we would have sessions together. And I feel like it was only a handful of times we ever did. And what I loved about writing with him was he didn't spoon feed you any lines. He just he offered a different frame with which to approach the joke.
Right.
Or maybe if you were riffing, like maybe he'd riff with you. But like whenever I left a writing session with Mike, I was like, this is 10 times funnier than anything I've ever written. But you still had that sense of accomplishment of like, I still wrote it, but he helped me get into that view reference. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. And just as a human being and friend, I miss him dearly.
Yeah, I'll see if I can see him again tonight.
Yeah. Will you tell him I say hi?
Sure, I'll do that.
And you have to give like a warm, cute little hug when you do it. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw him. We hung out a little bit at Mitzi's after his showcase.
Is Missy's oh god. Is
Mitzi's is like the little bar that's right next to the mothership,
okay.
named after Mitzi Shore.
Ah, okay. So it's like the hangout spot for
Yep,
everyone after.
got to
Yep.
hang out with Mike, but then most of our conversation was interrupted by this drunk patron who saw Mike's set earlier.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Mike posted his picture on Instagram. He was the one that said like, "Hey, I just met Joe Rogan."
Wait, Mike posted. Oh, they posted that, but it was about Mike, thinking he was
Mike
Joe.
early posted a picture on Instagram next to this one drunk guy who was a fan
Oh,
of Mike's stand-up early in the set.
that's a
He was sort of like a bald guy, cowboy guy.
that's a very Mike post to share.
Yep.
Oh man. Has your comedy career taken the direction you hoped it would having moved to Austin? Or what were the reasons you moved to Austin?
Well, it was like the historical moment because if I went to like LA or New York, it'd sort of be like following an assembly line.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, and this year, like I made some big changes like I always wanted to do. Like one of the things I always wanted to do in Minneapolis, but I never got around to is setting up my own open mic.
So you have your own open mic there.
I had one. It lasted about 7 months.
Okay. And then was that like pre-pandemic or something?
No, it was post pandemic.
Okay.
It was this year.
Okay. So what happened?
Well, the owner she wanted us to use like the full 2 hours, but not enough comics were showing up
Oh,
because the
okay.
location was like 20 minutes out of Austin. A
Oh,
lot
so
of
okay.
so a lot. It was sort of like the equivalent of like having like back in Minneapolis when everyone went to the open mic in Coon Rapids.
Yeah, okay. Say less. Yeah. That's a tough bargain to convince everyone to, yeah. But well, you should still feel proud of yourself that
Yeah,
you set it up.
the bar staff they enjoyed my hosting, and I did do a showcase like last month there, and it was a good showcase. But then again, it was not enough people showing up.
Right. Right. It's such a shame when you go to shows and you're like, God, these comics are crushing it and only 5 people will know.
Hmm.
Well, hopefully you can resurrect it at a more proximity friendly location.
Yeah, I'm
And
doing more cold calling for showcases and trying to work more on the networking part of stand up, which is what I should have done more when I was in Minneapolis.
yeah, I know. It's interesting though. Networking, I feel like it feels more natural in Austin and LA because there's just a greater
Mhm.
there's a greater amount of like folks in the industry, if you will. Like at that Creek in the Cave mic, again, there was maybe only 2 non-comic audience members, but I remember watching a gentleman walk in and I just had this weird gut feeling I should talk to him. But I was with a friend who goes, she's like, I really think you should talk to that other comic. I feel like she really looked up to you or wanted to keep talking to you. And I was like, ugh, be a good mentor or go talk to the guy who's mysterious, but I feel like I should. Well, I went with the nice thing to do and I talked to the other comic. We had a lovely conversation. However, when I came back, that guy was gone. And because of this like feeling I had, I asked around, I was like, guys, I know this is gonna sound weird, but did you notice that guy? And like, do you know who he was? Turns out he was a scout for Joe Rogan.
Really?
And so talk about your spidey senses never being wrong. And then I found out what his name was, looked him up on Instagram, saw we had one mutual friend. That friend at the time was on well, loose friend, like through Clubhouse. But at the time, he was on SNL, and so I was like, "Ooh, maybe he'd have some pull." But also, that's a bold move of me. But I went for it, and I messaged him, and the first sentence of his response was like, "I applaud your I don't know, something about like I applaud your boldness or like way to go for it," like totally acknowledging like, all right, but big ask. But the ask was, I was like, would you be able to convince this gentleman to come to the showcase I'm on tonight? And it didn't work out, but it was kind of like that would never happen in Minneapolis. I shouldn't say never, but it just opportunities like that are so rare in Minneapolis. Whereas in LA, you throw a rock and you can't not hit a talent agent or a casting director or someone who's, had their prime time or late night debut. It's um the
Yep.
amount of times I've talked to someone there and you ask them like, what was a pivot moment for you in your career? And it's like, so and so was in the audience. You just never know who's in the audience. But in Minneapolis, you don't really get that kind of like magical feeling. It's like, who's in the audience? They're all probably from the suburbs. That's who's in the audience,
Yeah, but the one thing I do miss about Minneapolis is like Minneapolis, it did have easier open mics for audiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really good open mics here. Not to be taken granted for. Although since being back, okay, so because I've been out of the loop, because I haven't performed in Minneapolis, I haven't done an open mic in Minneapolis in 2 years.
Wow.
So I forgot because like in the past 2 years, I've kind of been on my stand-up hiatus. I've maybe performed a dozen times, and those were opportunities that were exceptions, right? So I did perform in Minneapolis last summer when I opened for J.R. de Guzman. That's something you don't say no to. But as far as like being in the trenches again at an open mic, hadn't done that in 2 years. So I tried to sign up twice, but missed the sign up window because I was just out of touch with like, oh yeah, you have to sign up 4 hours in advance. Not really, but it was way earlier than I remembered.
Let's see, what was this sign up for? Like, was it for Acme or Sisyphus?
It was for Sisyphus and oh gosh, what else did I try and do? I just know I messed it up twice, and then third time's the charm. I finally signed up within the window, and I didn't get on, and it was weird to recognize, like, wow, I'm like a new person again, and there were 70 people who signed up, and they had 9 people star their name, so the show was mostly first timers, but it was I have like when I've gone to Acme for shows, I've been told like, yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Like I have a good feeling I could get stage time again there, but it's interesting that scaredness is coming back of like, well, I'm rusty, so I don't want to just casually waltz back to Acme. I want to like grind it out, but then just going to Sisyphus, I was like, wow,
And
well,
also,
it's
like when people see you do stand up, they watch your set for the first time. They usually like hold that opinion on you. Like the first time, like you come back a little bit rusty in front of new people.
yes. Well, and maybe this is a weird pressure I'm putting on myself, but I feel like I left the Minneapolis scene on like a high, right? Because it
Mhm.
was like having one Acme and like just it was to the point where I was like having to turn down shows regularly every week because it was just and I was really proud of having gotten I don't say that to brag. It was just I like to think it was a reflection of all the hard work I'd put in. And I couldn't ignore this nagging feeling of like the joy wasn't in it anymore. There was this reluctancy.
Well, I think post-pandemic, Minneapolis started to spring back up because everyone was sort of like locked in. They needed to get out, and
Yeah, it's true. But it was like antithetic to what made sense because things were back on the upswing, as were the opportunities I was getting, and yet I still needed to tap out. It was like making me miserable. And then there was a guilt about like I'm getting 5 minutes at Acme every week, and it's making me miserable. Whereas that would be another comedian's, their
yes,
I shouldn't say dream. That makes it sound, but like another comedian's, goal or be a highlight of their week. And then so there was that guilt about why I was miserable with that opportunity, and then the martyr Lisa came to mind where I was like, you should never go back. Someone else deserves that time. And that's basically what happened. I just cold turkeyed it. Then I traveled and that was refreshing. And then it's kind of remained from there with those exceptions I talked about. But now I do have, once I wrap up a few upcoming keynotes, I really want to get back into stand up. I've been writing like crazy. And I feel like I need that outlet again. And
Yeah.
not just outlet for myself, but also if I do want to move back to LA, it would behoove me to like start
Mhm.
grinding it out here again, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one thing like Austin's also become like new LA where I'm want to advise people like put in like at least 3 years into your smaller scene before moving out to like the bigger scenes, because as much as I like to call like the Minneapolis comedy scene like comedy high school.
Yeah.
They'll teach you like the chops and like how to work a room, but you also have to learn how to deal with like local scene drama.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, so have you noticed how does local scene drama and the high school scene of Minneapolis, how does that compare to Austin? Do you feel like you notice a lot less politics or drama? Like, how has it been for you?
Well, so far, like, well, when I came in, this is one of the things what I like about going from like one scene to the other. It's sort of like going back to high school, like with the knowledge of a 30-year-old.
Yeah. Yes. I like that.
Yeah, so mainly in Austin, I've just been going to open mics and then leaving right afterwards. I'm trying to avoid like the comedy outside comedy hang, because that's usually like when like the bad stuff happens. Like
Yeah.
people picking up like bad drug habits or getting
Oh,
entangled in other stuff.
that's smart. That's smart. And see, I'm such a people pleaser where I'd be worried people be like, "Do they not even care to get to know the comics?" You know, but from that angle, that's a smart move.
Yep. And also it helps prevent like picking up like habits where you sort of like blend in with like the comedy crowd, but not standing out as a performer and for the audience.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I like that take. Look at you, Kelly, just wise as a what's an owl? A comedy
Yeah.
owl?
Yeah, we'll go
Yeah.
with that.
I was about to say something that was probably politically incorrect, and I was like, Just go the same route, an owl."
Well, owl seems more accurate because I still get people asking me like, "Who are you?"
Who are you? I like that. Who's this kid with glasses and dimples? Who does he think he is? You can
Yeah.
eat his last name. Yeah, I'll shut up. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and also like there's a lot of comic opportunity like in this, like on 6th Street there's like almost 5 major comedy clubs open. Like we got Creek in the Cave, Vulcan Gas Company, the Velrita Room, Mothership, and the Sunset Strip.
And that's all on one street.
It's all in like one 3-block area.
Wow.
So
That's
like on
amazing.
Saturday and Friday nights, sometimes what I like to do is like I can go to 3 of those clubs for free and watch like professional comics perform.
Yeah. Wait, do you know Lucas McCrary?
I've seen them around. I
He's one of the folks I met when I was there for a few days, and it's been so cool to see him pop off, and really just other people too where I'm like, "Oh, when I met you, you were," but now it seems like they're doing big things down there, or at least getting regular stage time.
Yep, I
I
also
should
got
Go ahead.
have a couple of my friends who got work as door guys at the Mothership.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
So, Kelly, what's your goal in comedy? What's your dream?
Well, right now it's just to make enough to survive off of it, like everyone else.
Mhm. Mhm. Be a working comic. Are you at that point?
Not quite yet. I'm doing more phone calls. I'm trying to get more things set up and trying to get like that comedy work balance thing out. And I have a good opportunity right now. My job is flexible right now. Like I've been through 5 of them in the last year and a half.
Oh, dang. Wait, what do you do again for your other
Right now,
job?
my current day job is right now. I just started as a mover a couple months ago.
We need movers. We need young strapping men to help us move because us ladies, we're tired of it.
And with people moving in and out of Austin all the time, it can be steady at sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And it's a good workout. So you're probably
Yes.
gonna get ripped
Hmm.
or pull your back out. So just one or the other. Be careful.
Yeah.
Remember, Kelly, lift with your back. It's all on the back.
Yeah, but luckily with my job right now, they just have me mainly on the moving company I work for also does like moves and also junk removal for certain clients.
Oh. So does the junk removal include people?
It's just like taking trash off people. Like some people want to get rid of like a piece of furniture, but they don't want to go through like the state or the local city. So they just
Mm-hmm.
hire a private company to take it
Yeah.
out.
I more so meant if it includes that you can remove people who are junk or trash.
No, we can't do that yet.
Little side business. Well, heck yeah. Okay, so you're on your way to the dream.
Hmm. I'm also doing more cold calling. I'm setting up like a gig for in the middle of December. We'll see how that turns out. I'm renting out a party room so that I can fill it out to make a profit.
You renting a what room?
A party room at a place in
Oh,
North Austin.
right on, right on.
And also I'm doing like the cold calling, just calling up random bars and restaurants saying like, hey, I'm a local Austin comic. I'd like to offer you a show.
And do they usually bite?
And I'm getting like a couple, like I'll refer to my manager and well, it's like the advice goes like also like comedy's like a business of rejection. Like
Mm-hmm.
as Joey Jesus said in one great interview with he said like one yes makes up for 50 no's.
Oh, absolutely. Who is it that said that you said?
That was an interview with Joey Diaz. He was interviewing Carmen
Oh.
Morales.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Mhm.
Or even just the way I think about it, I will think on awkward interactions I've had. Because being someone who's like uh, an advertising agency professional by day, it was hard at times for me to navigate the comedy scene because kind of what we touched on earlier, it's just this different approach of like, oh, got it. I'm like a total narc if I go up and say, hi, I'm Lisa, and extend my hand for a handshake. Like, I had people look at me like I was freaking crazy when I did that. And then someone would tell me later, they're like, dude, when you're that friendly and that bubbly, people wonder what your ulterior motive is.
Mhm.
And I was like, what world are we living in? But it's just so different than my day job world and just who I am as a person where like I'm not chill, man. I have no chill. I'm the cheerleader, golden retriever girl. I just want to be your friend. I want you to like me. I want us to all have fun and us all be friends. Is that too much to ask? And apparently it is in the comedy scene. So,
Yeah, well, like
but
in
that,
comedy and advertising, you got to learn to like to play the law of averages.
what elaborate on that?
Well, it's like if you keep asking like the same people over and over again, you're bound to run to someone who's interested.
Yeah, it was more so. Oh, I lost my point. It was more like I had enough awkward interactions from that type of
Mhm.
mismatch of energies that when I did have something go well or did
It's
have
just like a
yeah,
shock
like
to your system.
it just was very refreshing and it made up for the rest, right? Um and I've found that this isn't like a knock against anyone. It's just a pattern I noticed of like if I was getting to talk to a headliner after a show, there wasn't usually as much of that like having to worry about being myself. It felt okay and more natural to just take the professional route, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But
And
then when you
also,
go ahead.
one thing like you were talking with headliners. Like, one thing I've learned, like the best way you can learn from headliners is to watch them and sort of like absorb them. Because instead of
Yeah.
like just asking like, "What's your secret?" Because
No, Kelly, let me tell you, the amount of times I will be talking to a headliner after a show, right? And my rule of thumb is talk to the headliner about anything except comedy. If
right,
they want to bring it up, they will. Just be a human, be a friend, be a good hang. And then the amount of times and
because
the
most comedians are sick of comedy.
yeah. But the number of times other comedians would walk up and I know them and their voice is like a whole octave higher and they go into what I call interview mode. And you can just see if they're a nice human, you can see the headliner return interview mode back, but you can tell that they suddenly had to turn on. And you know that they would like this conversation to end. And like, I just don't think a lot of at least newer comics like realize a lot of networking in the scene is like just being a good hang.
Yep.
Um, and
Because that's what
so,
gets you roadwork, saying like, can I spend like 15 hours in a car with this guy?
yeah, exactly.
And that's sort of like why some comics will take like a comic who's not as good, but like
Yeah.
he's a good friend, and like once you go to comedy shows, you realize like most people are gonna remember like the headliner from the set, like
Mhm. Yeah, and someone who knows their place, like I think we've all heard the story about the feature who did crowd work and the headliner is pissed, because that headliner wants and deserves the opportunity to get the fresh crowd work reactions. I mean, don't get me started though on crowd work clip culture, but you got to bring someone on the road who kind of knows their place and, like you said, good hang and
also
good influence.
crowd work is so it can go very well, but also if it does very poorly, it can make the audience hostile to the next comic.
Yeah. Do you do crowd work often?
It's like a miss. I prefer to think of it as like improv. Like you do it enough times, and you sort of like learn like how to be liquid and like how to fit the room.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it feels like to me, it feels like on a first date where like, when you just kind of know if you're clicking, I feel like you can feel that with an audience. And so when I don't have that comfort with an audience, I usually don't do it. But I also, in that same theme of like when I get really excited, I kind of blank. I have noticed that if I go to do crowd work, sometimes I get into that mode of like, I'm about to do crowd work. And then I kind of go into that fight or flight mode.
Mm.
And then I'm not as sharp, um, which is frustrating because when I'm with people and friends I trust, like I'm on one. Like that's the best friendships I have are the ones where we can riff. But it's so hard trying to replicate that when you're on stage.
Yeah, it's. I did take a couple of improv classes from Hughes because was hoping that would improve my crowd work.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
did
but
it?
well,
Probably not.
not really. I was sort of still freezing up, and
Yeah.
like I read this really good book a couple years ago called. It was like a book about improv and conversation. It's a
Okay.
great book. I recommend it to a lot of people. It's called Improv Your Conversations by
Ah,
Patrick King.
okay. I'll write that down. Or no, I won't interrupt the show. I'll have you text it to me.
Yeah, that's a very great book. I don't know if Darren read it yet.
I am listening to it
Yeah,
on Audible,
yeah.
but
It's I
whatever.
read that book like when I first went to Austin because like in January I got pulled out of the bucket on Kill Tony.
You did?
Yes.
And
The set went well. The interview sort of well, let's just say I talked about autism, then I showed I was autistic.
Oh my
Oh,
god, was that like the most exhilarating performance ever?
Yeah, it felt very good.
Because it's 60 seconds you have, right?
Yes, you have 60 seconds. Do stand up, then it's followed by an interview. And
That's right.
it's, yep, and it's a lot of, yep, it's sort of like American Idol for stand up.
Yeah. I really wanted to do Kill Tony when I visited. I would have been happy just to be an audience member, but long story short, there was maybe a miscommunication on expectations of the trip with the friend I was with, and it didn't happen, which was frustrating. And I try not to get frustrated when I think back on it. So like, well, I haven't been to Austin since, and I remember having a tight 60 then that for whatever reason I wouldn't do now, and it always kind of makes me wonder like what if I'd done it then? But if it wasn't meant to be, didn't happen. But that's awesome you got to do that.
Yep. And then we'll see if I get pulled from the bucket again. But there's like a lot of people who sign up now that Kill Tony is at the mothership now.
Oh, what venue was he at before doing that?
When it was in Austin, he was at Antone's, and then he went to Vulcan Gas Company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got pulled in January of 22 when it was at Vulcan.
Amazing. And did any opportunities stem from it?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, well, it's like people think like, oh, once they get to hear all this stuff will happen, then they realize, nope, it's still got a network and struggle.
Yeah. It's like
And that,
a
and
it's
that
like
also
a
brings me up to like one of the main advice I want to give to comics everywhere. Like when you're starting out, just enjoy the room for what it is and not what it will lead to. Because
that's good.
because it often won't lead to where you think it's going to go.
That's a good point. Or like the interactions that you think will result in opportunity or the next thing, like they just usually don't unfold how you think they will. Yeah.
And also you get lose sort of like in the present moment.
100%. Man, wise owl Kelly preaching, hooting today.
All right.
God, I hate myself when I make dad jokes.
All right. Well, there's one last thing I want to ask you about is your acting experience. Like I've seen you in like on a couple clips of like I forgot what it was called, it was on Content Makers or
Oh, the content machine.
yes, that.
Yeah, yes. What do
Yeah,
you want
like
to
I've
know?
seen some of you on that like a random TikTok, like, whoa, this is like a major thing Lisa's on.
Yeah, those guys have blown up. Very similar example of how things unfold in a way you don't expect. I was referred to them by a mutual friend when they were still living here in Minnesota. Apparently, all the comedic actresses they'd worked with had moved to LA, so they were putting out feelers for like, does anyone know a good comedic actress? Because in their words that I heard through the friend was Minnesota has a ton of actresses, but most of them are trained in drama, and a lot of them just don't know how to do comedy well, or at least the type that they were doing. And so when I met them, it was like a sweet relief for us both because I apparently was what they were looking for, but also I'd been looking for, a group to do more sketch work with. And so,
Like who are
and
the two guys in the Content Machine? I've seen like the taller guy and the shorter guy. That's how I know them.
yep. So you've got Tyler Perry and Mike Mazzatelli. I'm pretty sure I said Mike's name right. And then you have like an honorary member, Malcolm Kellner.
Hmm.
So they're all from Minnesota, but they all live in LA right now, and have for a while, and they're doing really well for themselves. So Content Machine Boys just hit 1 million on TikTok, and I think they're maybe at like 500,000 on Instagram. But I mean, they're a perfect example of like they're putting in the work, man. I mean, they both have quit their day jobs and are making a sketch a day. They both went to film school. So these aren't yeah, they're just very highly professionally trained. And that's something I learned the first time I did a sketch with them was like I couldn't even understand half the lingo, right? But they have and they have the setup, the gear, like it is professional, which makes it even more hilarious than you look at the sketches they're doing about
Yep.
like I
You've probably seen like some of the sketches like, wow, that like 30-second clip, like does it take like a whole day like to make those little things?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Because it's writing, it's you're filming, but you're also doing alt takes, you're editing, but you're also like recruiting the people and location setup and tear up and tear down, just for a sketch. But it's paying off for them. And I feel like they're in the same vein as I Think You Should Leave. Like kind of similar vibes where I'm like, I could see them getting their own TV show and it being this very um niche show to start, but could,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Brent loves that show on Netflix. I think you should leave.
It's so good. It's so good.
They're sort of
Um
like the Portlandia of cringe.
yeah, honestly. I usually don't like cringe, but he just does it in a way that's unlike it goes beyond cringe in my mind.
Yep, I've
I don't know.
also watched the guy on that show, like Tony, forget that guy's name on, I think it's usually Tony Robinson.
Wait, the like the famous keynote speaker guy?
Yep, the famous guy on I Think You Should Leave.
Kim Robinson.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
he's brilliant.
Yep, he's been in Saturday Live, and I also he has some good sketches on Second City.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, it's insane how many really good sketch folks are out there. Like the Content Machine guys have just started partnering with, I think it's called, I think that's a bad idea. And those guys are hilarious. But it's fascinating too, seeing them grind it out on like TikTok and Instagram. But then they're getting really good representation and they're starting to get their guest star roles. And so,
Nice.
yeah. Of course I met them like 3 months before they leave, but I did get to sync up with them in LA, and that was a fun reunion.
Yeah, I'm surprised, but I suppose like acting is like different from stand up in Minneapolis.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I mean, stand-up is what led me to acting. Even though I actually just found a paper from my elementary school days where you had to write about your future self. And I must have thought 24 years old was really old because this paper is like, so it's me, Lisa. I'm 24 and I'm about to walk down the red carpet from the movie I just starred in. And so it's like, I wanted to be an actress from a little age, from a young age, and it was few and far between what opportunities I had. So it was maybe once at church camp I got to do something, or once in third grade, for your school play. But
Right.
I remember begging my parents for acting classes, and it just wasn't in the cards. Let's say that.
Oh, you didn't
And
take any acting classes?
no, it was either couldn't afford them or wouldn't have had the transportation to them, and so
Yeah,
um
I'm also looking to take up some acting classes pretty soon.
you absolutely should. I Acting is so different in terms of like the fulfillment I personally get from it. It's way different, and it brings me more joy to act, honestly.
Well, it's also good for like commercial work and making the transition from stand up to acting roles, because there's so many bookers saying like, yeah, we need comic, we'd like to book some comic, but they don't know how to act.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also like acting can also help with your stage performance, so it can actually be more human on stage.
Yes. Yeah, it's wild for okay, so like you and I might recognize a comedian who's on the up and up. So your average person probably wouldn't recognize us, but if you watch like really any recent TV show or movies coming out, the number of guest star roles that are stand-up comedians is insane. Like multiple. So they are stand-up comedians are valued by talent managers, casting directors, from multiple angles. I think part of it too is like they bring a following that brings the following to the film, but also just their comedic chops are perfect for the film. And everyone kind of wants to support people on the rise, or at
Yep.
least it seems.
All right. Let's see. Well, Lisa, it was great having you here. Like we have a second podcast interview scheduled later for today, so we're trying to
Yeah,
get the content out.
exactly. Well, thank you for the time and thank you for your patience. I know we've rescheduled this like
Yeah, it's you
14
and
to the
everyone
10th
else.
degree.
Like I'm still trying to get a response from one comic who I don't know if he's still may or may not still be doing stand up.
Wait, is he from Minneapolis?
Yeah, I think we'll end the episode right here. Stop the recording, and this has
Thanks,
been our time with
guys.
local comic, Minneapolis comic and actress Lisa Evanson. Is there
Thanks,
anything you want to plug,
guys.
Lisa?
If you're in Minnesota, I have a keynote speech this Thursday, the 16th, but maybe this episode won't be out by then. If
Well, we
not,
still got to get the one out we recorded from August.
all right.
Crap, it's been
Yeah, so
it's a long time.
Okay,
Poor
well
Will.
then I have nothing to plug because I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 9 months when you release this. Just follow me on Instagram and you'll see my upcoming shows there.
All right, and what's your Instagram handle?
You can just type in my name, Lisa Evanson. It's Lisa Marie. It's just hard. It's Lisa like Sisa, Leesawmarie. It's just a long way to explain it.
And I'm Kelly Berger. You can follow me at Kelly Berger Comedy.
See, way more simple.
Yep.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Darren. This was so fun.
Yep. Thank you for being here, Lisa.
Woohoo!
All right.